And that was actually easy tonight. Usually I gotta wait and link up everything. Not tonight. It's gonna be a crazy show tonight. Crazy. Hopefully YouTube does their thing and alerts the people they're supposed to alert. We'll see. Let me see how my glitching is doing right now. Seems to be alright. An unbelievable day today. Unbelievable. Although I did kind of sort of see it coming. I didn't officially predict it to happen, but I definitely saw it coming. And yeah, we'll probably be in the buffer zone for the first few minutes. Hopefully that goes away. We'll see. Big 12 might be done though. Yeah, that's I don't know how to take that because I've never liked being in the Big 12. West Virginia was never a good fit in the Big 12, so I'm not really 100% sure as to how I feel about that yet. I guess once it, actually sinks in, that's when I'll get the feeling. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of different reactions though. A lot of different reactions. The funny thing about it is everybody wants, as far as fans of teams in the SEC, everybody wants Oklahoma, but nobody wants Texas. Nobody wants Texas. They're like, yeah, we'll take Oklahoma, but no, send Texas to the Pac-12. Nobody wants you, Texas. Why? Because you've been drama queens. You've been drama queens. Your reputation is preceding you. My hat's crooked. Why? There we go. It's a little better. Maybe. I always forget everything's backwards on the camera. So that was sorry about the pop. That's probably the funniest thing that I've come across today. Alabama fans, A&M fans, definitely A&M fans, Arkansas fans, LSU, Ole Miss, on down the list. They all want Oklahoma, but none of them want Texas. They don't. And this is what happens when you're drama queens, prima donnas, whatever you want to call it. Last week it was, or not last week, this week, it was the whole thing about the horns down thing, which we already knew that unsportsmanlike conduct was a penalty. Everybody knew that. That's already a thing. But the Big 12 made everybody understand that hold on one sec. Everybody, the Big 12 wanted everybody to understand that if you do horns down in somebody's face, it was going to be a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. We already knew that. So why did you have to come out and say it? Well, you had to come out and say it because you wanted to kiss Texas' rear end. That's why you did it. So this thing today where they're saying that Texas and Oklahoma are reaching out to the Big 12, or the SEC, excuse me. Well, SEC fans are like, yeah, bring on Oklahoma. We want Oklahoma. We don't want Texas. We don't want the drama that comes with Texas. So I hope you've enjoyed the spotlight, Texas, because people are showing how they truly feel about you. Time to bring on Tiger Baskins real quick. What do you think about the possibility of Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC?
I think for Texas, it's terrible timing because you just came out with this whole horns down deal.
Yep.
You made yourself a joke. And then the fact that your college football team over the last 5-10 years has been a joke.
Yep.
And now you want to join the strongest conference in the nation, which is a joke. There's 3 strikes, you're out.
Exactly. Oklahoma's a different story. They actually have people's respect.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Even biased fans that love their team and hate Oklahoma or don't really give a crap about Oklahoma, we know Oklahoma has been recruiting very, very well. So
yes,
at the end of the day, they're almost out of the box in their own conference. So it's not a far-fetched idea with them. I just think that the SEC is weighing the idea of 2 teams because you can't make the SEC off balance. And we already have 14 teams, so they don't want to do 15.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I've been working on this thing all day of if somehow the Big 12 were to implode, where would be the best fit for all these teams? And I've come up with something, but the problem is with the Pac-12, it's going to be an either-or situation with TCU or Baylor. They would have to make a choice in my particular scenario.
Ooh, a good one, dude.
Let me run this by you real quick, all right? So,
okay.
If Oklahoma and Texas do indeed join the SEC, I actually have Texas going in the West and Oklahoma going in the East. And I know that that doesn't make sense.
No, that does not sound bad at all, dude, because we know the East needs more competition.
And Missouri kind of, negates that fact. They're already out there. So that's just a few steps west and you're good. And then Texas can go in the West and get their butts beat every year.
Oh, no, I agree, dude. And I've literally all day I've done nothing but watch SEC media days, from different teams. So yeah. I'm locked and loaded. You asked me what questions you need, and I'm going to try my best to hit them as far as teams.
All right, that sounds good. So it sounds like we have the SEC locked down. All right, let's go on to the ACC.
Okay.
For the Coastal, we have Miami, North Carolina, Duke, Georgia Tech, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Virginia, and West Virginia. And then for the Atlantic, I have NC State, Wake Forest, Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, Boston College, Syracuse, and Cincinnati. So I would be putting West Virginia in the Coastal only because they have several built-in rivalries in the Coastal.
Yes.
And then Cincinnati is a massive TV market. And in my opinion, they are a Power 5 team in a Group of 5 conference. I think they have proven their worth over the past few years. I mean, they're recruiting at a high level. They're at the top of the AAC. Luke Fickell is a high commodity right now. So I think they've earned their spot in a Power 5. Maybe the ACC is a lower class Power 5, but still, it's a Power 5. What do you think about that?
I've never really thought about it like that. That's actually a good point. Cincinnati proved themselves, yes, against Georgia. I know that's me being biased again, but it's not biased whenever we find out that their defensive coordinator was hired at LSU.
Exactly.
LSU is a power program, and for them to go out and hire a Group of 5 team defensive coordinator, you must be doing something right.
I agree with that. And they're a big TV market. People don't realize that. Cincinnati, that's a big TV market. That's bigger than West Virginia's.
It is, but West Virginia still, with their defensive coach, whether it's the coordinator or the DB coach, whoever it is that is out there producing and developing that talent, that's a whole different level. He was offered by, I think it was 3 or 4, bigger teams than the team he's already on. But he's so much of a family guy. Like, this is my home. This is where I'm going to wait till I produce more talent. I think West Virginia, once they get an offense going, it's going to be hard to beat West Virginia. And you put them in the ACC where they can, at worst, lose 3 games, 4 games.
Oh yeah.
I don't see how. I'm just saying. I think you put West Virginia in the ACC, their recruiting class goes up, and that's
I
what
agree.
they've needed for a while now.
Yes, and people don't realize this, and they always use the excuse of, it's a plane, it only takes a couple hours. But trust me, traveling that far, I mean, the closest away game that West Virginia has is Ames, Iowa. That's still over 1,200 miles, guys. That's a long
Did you
way.
say Ames, Iowa.
And yeah, they are in slow motion over there. But good people. They're just in slow motion.
Yeah, good people. Definitely good people.
And they're on the cusp of an all-time great team, I think. We'll see how Oklahoma Iowa State does this year.
The thing is about Iowa, and we'll just go on a side note about them. They've always had that on the cusp, setting a team here and there. They've been doing it for a while now. They're known for it. But when do we start judging them for only being that kind of team? When do we start saying, oh, they're the Wisconsin, they're the Nebraska, they're the Cincinnati, they're that team that they're pretty good, but, just be careful, they might upset you.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but here's where I disagree with you, okay? So, hold on, let me put you down for a second. I am all kind of awkward in this seat right now. Hold on. All right, that's better. All right, so here's where I have to disagree with you. Iowa State, before Matt Campbell, they were a train wreck. Did they upset people? Yes, because Ames, Iowa is a nightmare to play at. But he inherited a 3-win team. Iowa State, historically, is one of the worst programs in all of college football. So I understand what you're saying. Their reputation is to be the spoiler, but Matt Campbell, as a head coach, has turned the culture around to where this team expects to win. Now, they can't do what they did last year and lose to a Louisiana. They can't become the team that starts to losing to people that they're not supposed to lose. They have the reputation of beating teams they're not supposed to.
That's exactly
Don't switch it around, Iowa State. Don't start losing to teams that you're not supposed to. You got something cooking there. And they better back up the Brinks truck, because the bigger boys are going to come calling for Matt Campbell real soon.
I like that. They better back up the Brinks truck. I agree. You better throw the money at Matt Campbell. Well,
seriously,
I know, dude, and that's kind of my whole ordeal is, and you said it perfect. Don't lose to the teams you're not supposed to. And what happens is they always do. They might beat a team they're not supposed to beat, but then they lose to a team they're not supposed to.
Right.
That's why Georgia got so much flack. Because every year we have great seasons, and we'd lose to a team in their most terrible year because we couldn't play every single game. We couldn't bring it every single game. And another good point, Iowa does not. They might have a few good players, but for some reason they can never put together a full team. So that's why it's hard for me to just say, all right, I take them serious.
Right,
I
got you.
Honesty, yeah, exactly. They might come out with a tight end or two, and have a high draft pick of this or that. But at the end of the day, if you can't put it all together, then you're just another team. You're another team that when I watch NFL on Sundays and it's like, my name's LeBron James and I'm from Kentucky, and it's like, well, Kentucky's trash. Yeah, but they had this guy go out and him be really good.
That's true. Yeah, and they're going to get a chance right off the bat at the beginning of the season against Iowa, who is a pretty good team, just like Louisiana is. But Iowa State is the better team. So right off the bat, at the beginning of the season, they're going to get tested to see if they're going to lose a game that they're not supposed to lose to a team. But it's the same scenario. It's at home, and it's against a pretty good team. People didn't realize how good Louisiana was last year. They do now. I'm telling you, Iowa is the same situation. They're going to be a pretty good team this year. Don't lose to them.
I agree.
That's the bottom line.
And I think that whole rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State has made both of them better. Made both of those teams so much better because they're trying to outcompete each other.
Yeah.
And they end up outcompeting everybody in their conference.
Yeah. Just to let everybody know in the chat, I am talking with Tiger Baskins. I'm giving him the first 30 minutes, but then after that, we're going to have open phone lines. The big thing today was the Oklahoma, Texas reaching out to the SEC. I'm glad you pointed out well, we both pointed out the Iowa State rivalry because that's a good segue into the Big Ten. How I lined up the Big Ten. So here we go. In the East, this is the Big 12 being picked apart if it were to happen. All right. So in the East, I actually had to switch Purdue over to the East because of how this works out. So we have Purdue, Ohio State, Indiana, Penn State, Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan, and Michigan State. And I think Purdue would actually be better than, I would say, Maryland, Rutgers, and Michigan State. So they could actually bring a little bit of competition. But the West is where it's at, man. The West would have Northwestern, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois, and then, listen to these three. This is where they would pick up Iowa, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State.
Ooh. Oh, snap.
That's
a strong conference right there.
There you go. And I think the West would most definitely be more evened out as far as how it relates to the East. Because Iowa, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin, those four, I think, will consistently be good. And then you throw in, like last year, Northwestern out of nowhere, Minnesota sometimes. That's going to be a tough division in college football.
I think also you make another conference a little stronger, and not saying that they'd be stronger than the SEC, but now whenever bowl season comes around, you help your conference out. That makes sense.
It does, absolutely. I agree, and that was kind of what I had in mind. But then the last conference we have to talk about, of course, the Pac-12. This is where it's a little weird, just a little bit. So
please tell me the Pac-12, and I know football,
all right,
but isn't that Oregon and all them?
Yes, it is. It's over there on the West Coast. So
that conference pisses me off.
Yeah, they're just they cannibalize each other. It's like it's almost too competitive over there. There's no, and I've done a video on this. There's no team in the West that can dominate at any given year. Like even in the SEC, most of the time it is Alabama, but then every once in a while you have an LSU, Georgia, Florida in the past. Auburn has done it.
Yes.
But in the Pac-12, Oregon tried to there for a while. USC is thinking about it, I guess. Back in the day, Washington was okay. But nobody has ever been a dominant team. Now, USC in the early 2000s, I do have to say that. They were pretty good with Pete Carroll. But ever since he left the Pac-12, it seemed like when Pete Carroll left, that's when the Pac-12 went down.
I know, and that I think has a lot to do with why we feel the way we do about them.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 struggles so much because, one, they don't have consistently good coaching. Two, they don't have consistently good football teams. I have seen Oregon recruit better in the last 3 years than I've ever seen them. Even when Chuck Kelly was there, he was not recruiting top 5, recruiting classes. This man was dominating. He was doing this whole up-tempo, running 90 plays a game, tiring teams out, putting up 50 points on the scoreboard. But this past year, Oregon has more talent on their team than they've ever had, but can't put it together.
Yeah.
And I heard Mississippi State's media day today, and Coach Mike Leach that came from Washington State. He's such a weird person, but he's a genius.
Yeah, he is.
He literally spent one question. He talked the whole 4 minutes of the question talking about what his favorite movies were, and the top to worst movies this year, and his favorite producer, blah blah blah. But his point was, with a quarterback, if you do not have, his whole deal was, if you do not have a quarterback who has a not strong arm, but an accurate arm and good decision making, then they don't need to be playing quarterback. He's like, right. I don't care if they can run fast. I don't care if they're physical, but I want a leader as my quarterback. And that's why when he was at Washington State, he was tearing teams up no matter how much talent they had.
Yeah.
And then, they asked him, well, how do you feel now? You weren't able to have a spring game last year. You weren't able to have a lot of practicing with your team, but you still came in and you threw up almost 550 yards of offense against LSU, and you kind of surprised people off the get-go. And his mindset was, go back to the last 10 to 15 NFL Super Bowl teams. Every single one of them had quarterbacks who didn't have great feet and weren't fast. They had great decision-making and accurate arms. And so that's where he's trying to show people, you can be all happy and this and that about dual-threat quarterbacks and this and that, but at the end of the day, consistency wins games. And when I see the Pac-12 play, I never see consistency. That's why I try not to cover them, because it's always a disappointment, honestly. So I'm sorry to any Pac-12 fans in here, but and also totally not depressed. Yeah, Space Jam 2 was probably more of a letdown than we planned on it being.
I wish they'd just not have done it.
Well,
why do they have to ruin the original?
Chasing Michael Jordan.
That's what it was about.
LeBron's been chasing. Yeah, exactly. I know. LeBron's been chasing Michael Jordan for a long time now, and then for him to come out and make Space Jam 2, I was expecting it to be more down to earth, like Space Jam 1 was, but to me, this movie looked like Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh my gosh.
A bunch of toony characters, and,
not even close. All right, so I have Baylor 06 in. He says Baylor and Tech and TCU should go to the Pac-12. All right, that's exactly what I was about to talk about. Here we go. Here's my Pac-12 if the Big 12 were to be picked apart. So in the now they might have to redo this and go East and West. I don't know, but as is, in the South I would have Kansas, Texas Tech, USC, Utah, Arizona State, UCLA, Arizona. And this is where they would have to make their choice, either TCU or Baylor. That's a close decision, too. But in the North, you would have Washington, Oregon, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, Cal. And I pulled Colorado from the South and put them in the North because it made more sense. And then Kansas State.
Well, you're trying to balance out the
right.
I agree. I agree completely.
The only problem is
that is a great idea.
The only problem is the Baylor TCU decision. There is no unless, and I just now thought of this. What you could do is you could keep Baylor TCU both in the South. I just had a. This is it, dude. I got it. You keep TCU and Baylor in the South. You actually move. Let's see. Who would you move though? Because I'm thinking of you bring in Boise State. Just put them in.
Off right here.
Okay.
Jacob Andrew just said BYU to the Pac-12. I did not even think about that.
Well,
I forgot all about BYU.
I have, but the problem is, number one, BYU loves to be independent right now, and number two, some of their rules don't jive with the Pac-12. I honestly think the Pac-12 should add BYU, and they need to come to an agreement, something. I don't know, but I just don't see that happening.
Wait, so BYU doesn't let girls wear jeans, right? Don't they have to wear like long skirts and cover their ankles and shoulders, no spaghetti straps?
And there's an alcohol rule, and there's a bunch of rules that's just a little bit crazy, to be honest with you. Don't you have to sleep in a dorm room with a Catholic priest standing by your bed staring at you, praying over you? No, you're thinking of Catholics. This is Mormons. Different denomination, bud.
Oh, Morgan & Morgan, the lawyer company?
Yeah, there you go. Now you're getting it.
The Morgan & Morgan, wait, does that mean that everything at their place is built out of wood? Like, instead of electricity through, outlets, they get, like, water-powered hydroelectricity?
So,
am I wrong?
Are we drifting over to Amish now?
Damn it. Well, what the hell is a Mormon? I don't drive down the street, and I see more Amish people on TV than I see Mormons.
Yeah,
so
the Mormon faith
what is a Mormon?
I don't know how to exactly describe them. It's basically a faith that this guy named Joseph, I think Smith, had a vision from God or whatever, and then wrote his form of the Bible. and he's like their ultimate prophet. I don't know what the actual wording is, but something along those lines. If we have a Mormon in the chat, you're more than welcome to explain it, because I really have no idea. That's about all I have.
I apologize if I offend a Mormon, but there's a lot of people that have had quotations prophecies from God.
Yeah.
And just because they didn't have as much money as this guy to create his own college, they probably weren't looked at with the importance of, BYU. But I will say this. Sam Howell will now be on an NFL team where he will play with more black people than he's ever been around in his entire life. So, we'll see. Does it make him uncomfortable? Does he have to change religion? Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, definitely. We're on a slippery road right now, aren't we?
We are. I'll change the subject, guys. Let me tell a quick story. And I know I have a lot of stories, so I'm going to pick one every time I come on.
Okay.
I was leaving Walmart. I had a softball camp I put on 2 weeks ago, and I was leaving Walmart. I was a little late, and I'd stopped. I didn't have time to get anything to eat, so I bought some beef jerky from Walmart. I was going to surprise the kids. It was last day of camp. I'd gotten a cooler full of ice and like a bunch of different kind of fruit, and we were going to stop halfway through the camp, feed them, all this exciting stuff. Well, I'm eating my beef jerky as I leave Walmart, and as I pull up to the red light to pull out of Walmart, there's a homeless guy. And he's got a sign, saying that he's hungry and this and that. So my thought was, look over at my beef jerky in my passenger seat, and I'm like, dude, he would probably love that beef jerky and a bottle of water. So the light's red. I reach for my beef jerky and try to get out of the car real quick to run to him. The bag of beef jerky is open. All of the beef jerky flies out over my dash. And so while the light is red, I am scrambling, getting all the beef jerky, putting it back in the bag. Light turns green. I'm in the middle of the road giving this guy a bottle of water and beef jerky. Cars are honking. And I get in the car, and I drive off. And so moral of the story is, even if you're trying to be nice, some people don't care. They're hurting.
Yeah. I have more of those stories than I care to remember. And I've told my wife this. I said, whenever I see a homeless person, if, in fact, it's because of drugs or alcohol, and I'm being sincere when I say this, if they were to come up to me and say, hey, I'm sick, I need my alcohol, I need my whatever, I would actually respect that more than someone lying to me saying they need food when really they were going to go buy drugs or alcohol. I would actually respect that more. At least they were being honest. I would rather ask somebody to come into the grocery store with me. And this is what I do. I'll just tell them to come with me, and I'll buy them what food they want. Yeah, I agree. I don't like the whole, hey, here's $20, and the next thing you know, you see them on the wanted papers for buying 14 packs of Sudafed and blowing up some trailer park, Yep, exactly. Yeah, I agree with that too. That's a good plan to have for if you ever do want to take them up on their offer. I like it.
But back to college football. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. So we would have, in order to balance it out, I pulled Colorado from the south and put them in the north. So the north actually looks like a decent division. Washington, Oregon, Oregon State, Stanford, Washington State, Cal, Colorado, and Colorado State. But I think the south would be where it's at. You'd have Kansas, Texas Tech, USC, Baylor. Oh, excuse me. I would add Boise State to the north to balance out the TCU and Baylor in the south. Yes. So, yeah, Boise State would be in the north.
That's a good idea.
So,
especially since Boise State has actually been consistent.
Yeah. There you go. They did get a new... is it just me, or does it seem like Boise State hires a new coach like every 2 years because people see how good they're doing at Boise State and, they move on to greener pastures? I don't know. I think Boise State needs to pay their coaches more or something. Something's going on. I don't know.
I've heard from multiple college coaches and NFL coaches stating that Boise State somehow is consistently good, but they can never hold on to a coach, and it's because they pay the bare minimum.
I hear you. Well, go ahead and promote yourself real quick, and I'm going to open the phone lines up to everybody else.
Okay. Well, first off, guys in the comment section, you need to give a shout out to one of the best YouTubers out there, and that is Mr. Golden Blue Dude. Also, you guys can find me at just Tiger Baskins on YouTube. Just a normal guy who loves interacting with the community and being able to hang out with, you YouTube people. And I look forward to seeing who else calls in and wants to talk some college football. So y'all call in and talk about your team. Baylor, man, I see you on here. Y'all need to call in. We need to figure out what you like. So
yeah,
that's it for me, big dog.
I'm not one of these YouTubers that's going to bite your head off. We'll be civilized, I promise.
Yes, sir. Civilization at its finest.
There we go.
All right, see you, big dog.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.
So I'm going to, if you don't already know the number, I'm going to go onto the chat and post it real quick. Give me 1 second. Although somebody might call in before I get it out. Phone lines are open. So it's first come, still got to invest in that. There's the number, guys. 509-906-2583. And those last 4 numbers actually spell out blue. And my idea is when I get more lines, I'm going to have a blue line, a gold line, and a dude line. So my goal is to have 3 lines. And basically you put them together and it spells gold and blue dude. So yeah, y'all need to call in. Let's have to talk about what I want to talk about. We can talk about what you want to talk about. Is there something you're looking forward? Somebody do something stupid and you want to call them out. Anything. Is there a game you're worried about?